His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Her Excellency, Madam Annalena Baerbock, President of the United Nations General Assembly, His Excellency, Mr. Moses Abelian, Under Secretary General for General Assembly and Management, Excellencies, Heads of States, Heads of Governments, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor for me to stand in this august General Assembly Hall among leaders and representatives who represent almost all of humanity. We differ in race, religion, and nationality, yet we gather together today as one human family. We are here first and foremost as fellow human beings, each created equal, endowed with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The words of the United Nations Declaration of Independence have inspired democratic movements across continents, including the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Mexican Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, and Indonesia's own struggle and journey to freedom. It also gave birth to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations in 1948. All men are created equal was the creed that opened the way to unprecedented global prosperity and dignity. And yet, in our own era of scientific and technological triumphs, an era capable of ending hunger, poverty, and environmental ruin, we also continue to face today grave dangers, challenges, and uncertainties. Human folly, fueled by fear, racism, hatred, oppression, and apartheid, threatens our common future. My country knows this pain. For centuries, Indonesians lived under colonial domination, oppression, and slavery. We were treated less than dogs in our own homeland. We Indonesians know what it means to be denied justice and what it means to live in apartheid, to live in poverty, and to be denied equal opportunity. We also knew what solidarity can do. In our struggle for independence, in our fight to overcome hunger, disease, and poverty, the United Nations stood with Indonesia and gave us vital assistance. Decisions made here based on human solidarity by the Security Council and this Assembly gave Indonesia independence, international legitimacy, opened doors, and supported our early development through the efforts of the United Nations Children Fund, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, the World Health Organization, and many other United Nations institutions. And because of that, Indonesia today stands on the cusp of shared prosperity and greater equality and dignity. Madam President, Excellencies, our world today is driven by conflict, injustice, and deepening uncertainty. Every day we witness suffering, genocide, and blatant disregard for international law and human decency. In the face of these challenges, we must not give up. As the United Nations Secretary General said, we cannot give up. We cannot surrender our hopes or our ideals. We must draw closer, not drift apart. Together we must strive to achieve our hopes, our dreams. The United Nations was born from the ashes of the Second World War that claimed scores of millions of lives. It was created to secure peace, security, justice, and freedom for all. We remain committed to internationalism, to multilateralism, and to every effort that strengthens this great institution. Today, Indonesia is nearer than ever before to meeting the Sustainable Development Goals of ending extreme poverty and hunger. Because years ago, this very chamber chose to listen and uphold social and economic justice. We will never forget. And today, we must never be silent while Palestinians are denied that same justice and legitimacy in this very hall. Excellencies, Thucydides warned, the strong do what they can. The weak suffer what they must. We must reject this doctrine. The United Nations exist to reject this doctrine. We must stand for all, the strong and the weak. Might cannot be right. Right must be right. Indonesia today is one of the largest contributors to United Peacekeeping Forces. We believe in the United Nations. We will continue to serve where peace needs guardians, not with just words, but with boots on the ground. If and when the United Nations Security Council and this great assembly decide Indonesia is prepared to deploy 20,000 or even more of our sons and daughters to help secure peace in Gaza or elsewhere, in Ukraine, in Sudan, in Libya, everywhere when the peace needs to be enforced, peace needs to be guarded, we are ready. We will take our share of the burden, not only with our sons and daughters, we are also willing to contribute financially to support the great mission to achieve peace by the United Nations. Madam President, Excellencies, I propose to this Assembly a message of hope and optimism, grounded in action and execution. Today, we heard the speech of Madam President, the President of United Nations General Assembly. Yes, it is true what she said. Without the International Civil Aviation Organization, will we be here today? Will we sit in this great hall? Without the United Nations, we cannot be safe. No country can feel secure. We need the United Nations, and Indonesia will continue to support the United Nations. Even though we still struggle, but we know the world needs a strong United Nations. The world's population is growing. Our planet is under strain. Food, energy, and water insecurity haunt many nations. We choose to answer these challenges directly, at home, and to help abroad wherever we can. This year, Indonesia recorded the highest rice production and grain reserves in our history. We are now self-sufficient in rice, and we are starting now to export rice to other nations in need, including providing rice for Palestine. We are building resilient food supply chains, strengthening farmer productivity, investing in climate-smart agriculture to ensure food security for our children and for the children of the world. We are confident in a few years' time, Indonesia will be the granary of the world. As the world's largest island state, we testify before you that we are already experiencing the direct consequences of climate change, particularly the threat of rising sea levels. The sea level on the north coast of our capital city is increasing by 5 centimeters every year. Can you imagine in 10 years? Can you imagine in 20 years? For this, we are forced to build a giant seawall, 480 kilometers in length. It will take us maybe 20 years, but we have no choice. We have to start now. Therefore, we choose to confront climate change, not by slogans, but by immediate steps. We are committed to meeting our 2015 Paris Agreement obligations. We aim to achieve net zero emission by 2060, and we are very confident we can achieve net zero emission much earlier. We aim to reforest more than 12 million hectares of degraded forest, to reduce forest degradation, to empower local communities with quality green jobs for the future. Indonesia is shifting decisively from fossil fuel-based development towards renewable-based development. From next year, most of our additional power generation capacity will come from renewables. Our goal is clear: to lift all of our citizens out of poverty and make Indonesia a hub for solutions to food, energy, and water security. Madam President, Excellencies, we live in a time when hatred and violence can seem to be the loudest voices. But beneath this loud noise lies a quieter truth, that every person longs to be safe, to be respected, to be loved, and to leave a better world to their children. Our children are watching. They are learning leadership, not from textbook, but from our choices. Today, still, a catastrophic situation in Gaza is unfolding before our eyes. At this very moment, the innocent are crying for help, are crying to be saved. Who will save them? Who will save the innocent? Who will save challenge? Madam President, we must act now. Many speakers have said that. We must stand for a multilateral order where peace, prosperity, and progress are not the privilege of a few, but the right of all. With a strong United Nations, we can build a world where the weak do not suffer what they must, but live the justice that they deserve. Let us continue humanity's great journey of ideals, the selfless aspirations that created the United Nations. Let us use science to uplift, not use science to destroy. Let rising nations help others to lift themselves. I am convinced that the leaders of the great world civilizations of the West, of the East, of the North, of the South, leaders of America, Europe, of India, China, the Islamic world, the whole world, I am convinced they will rise to their role demanded by history. We are all hopeful that the leaders of the world will show great statesmanship, great wisdom, restraint, humility, overcome hate, overcome suspicion. Madam President, distinguished delegates, we are greatly heartened by the events of the last few days, where significant leading countries of the world have chosen to side with history, to choose the right side of history, the path of the moral high ground, the path of rectitude, the path of justice, the path of humanity, to shun hatred, to overcome suspicion, and to avoid the use of violence. The use of violence will beget violence. No one country can bully the whole community of the human family. We may be weak individually, but the sense of oppression, the sense of injustice has proven in the history of mankind that this sense of injustice, this sense of oppression will unite into a strong force that will overcome this oppression, that will overcome this injustice. To close, I would like to reiterate again Indonesia's complete support for the two-state solution in Palestine. We must have an independent Palestine, but we must also recognize, we must also respect, and we must also guarantee the safety and security of Israel. Only then we can have real peace, and no longer hate and no longer suspicion. The only solution is this two-state solution. Two descendants of Abraham must live in reconciliation, peace, and harmony. Arabs, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, all religions, we must live as one human family. Indonesia is committed to being part of making this vision a reality. Is this a dream? Maybe, but this is the beautiful dream that we must work together towards. Let us work towards this noble goal. Let us continue humanity's journey of hope, a journey started by our forefathers, a journey that we must complete. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om. Namo Buddhaya. Thank you very much. May God bless us all. May peace be upon us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Indonesia.
Indonesia has always walked a fine line, has always, as you mentioned in your speech, been a non-aligned state. But as the world becomes more and more complicated, can Asian countries, ASEAN countries stay non-aligned, or this is more and more not an option, or a very, very narrow option as we go forward?
Thank you. I think, in my opinion, it's not easy, but it's a line that we are determined to maintain. As I said, we respect all the great powers, we respect our neighbors, and we really believe that the only way for prosperity is collaboration, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence. And this is what we try to achieve. So we want to maintain good relations, and we try to convince all parties that the only way forward in this planet is getting smaller. We cannot afford rivalry that is going nowhere. That can only, especially if it goes into confrontation. So no, I'm convinced that we have to maintain this path of non-alignment.
Mr. President, you were shaking your head when we were exchanging this question. What are your thoughts on, bringing adversaries to the table? Does it require is defeat a prerequisite for dialogue, or we can, bypass this phase and go to dialogue? And there are so many crises in the world that cannot afford a victorious
Well, I have to say here that Nelson Mandela is one of my greatest icons, my greatest hero. I think it's an inspiration. He was put in prison for many years. He was sentenced to death, threatened to be sentenced to death, accused of many things. And his famous statement was that he was willing to give his life for the principle of freedom. But the greatness of Nelson Mandela, when he got out of prison, he worked for reconciliation with his former enemies. So this is the greatness of Nelson Mandela, and this I try also to carry out in my domestic politics. I reconciled with many of my former opponents. For instance, we had a very long rebellion, separatist rebellion in Aceh, very long. I think more than nearly 30 years. But can you imagine that the former commander of the Aceh Liberation Army, fighting against us for 25 years more, now he joined my party. He's in my political party, and he's now governor of Aceh, and I'm president of Indonesia. This shows that former enemies can come together. And I think this is the lesson of Nelson Mandela. I want to say I was a former soldier. And as a former soldier, I really know the value of peace and reconciliation. As a former soldier, I always try, now, even before, I always try to negotiate negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. Better to talk than to kill each other. This is my position.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would later go back to some aspects of your answer, mainly about the nuclear aspect of what's happening. But I'd like to go back to the other participants. Indonesia, Bahrain, and South Africa are three countries actively deepening relationship with Russia. From what I understood, this conflict, unfortunately, and I hope I'm wrong, might go longer, might go for long. How are you planning to mitigate the fallout of this conflict in terms of secondary sanctions, in terms of political reputation in the world, in terms of pressure coming from your other allies? This is a very, very complicated situation you don't want to be in any way, but that's reality. I will start with you, Mr. President.
I really don't understand actually your question. What secondary sanctions?
I'll make it simple.
Yeah, for Indonesia, we are very clear that we have always been on the line. In the Ukrainian situation, I think 2 years ago, we proposed immediate ceasefire in place. And I think at that time, the reaction from the Russian side was quite open, was quite positive, in fact. But the reaction from the Western governments, I have to be fair, not all Western governments, but many Western media virulently attacked my proposal. They said that I was proposing the peace of the cemetery. That was what many of these Western journalists accused me of. So we will always propose a peaceful solution. And at that time I reminded everybody that even in Korea now, North Korea and South Korea, there's a demilitarized zone supervised by the United Nations. The war in Korea is officially not yet over, but there's a peaceful condition. So that was what we proposed, like to save the people of Ukraine on all sides, people of the Russian-speaking areas, just to save them. A secession in place. That was we are far from the place, but we want to promote a peaceful solution. So I don't understand who's going to give sanctions to us.
We were talking about friendship a while ago, and the friends of Russia in this panel. I will start from South Africa, and then Bahrain, and then Indonesia. And if China would love to comment on that, the floor is open. Are you surprised that a friend of Iran, of Russia, Iran, is under attack, and Russia did not step up to help that ally? This is at least one of the narratives in the media. Where is Russia in this conflict? As friends, are you surprised?
Okay, my position is this, is the logical position that each country is responsible and will defend its own national interests. So, being friends is being friends, trying to cooperate, trying to help each other. But being friends does not mean that every country must give their national interest to another country's national interest. So it will be the decision of every country to defend and protect its national interest. That is my position.
Mr. President, how your country is, let's say, taking advantage of the current economic situation in Russia. Like, people left, businesses are left back. There are opportunities in the market now for a country like Indonesia. How are you leveraging the situation?
As I mentioned that I have had good relations with Russian business entities, business groups, but mostly I have to be very frank, they were interested and they are interested in coming into Indonesia. And because I think we have a lot of sectors that are still very, let us say, at the ground level, a lot of way to grow. And so basically it's mostly Russian groups that want to come to Indonesia. But before, our groups have joint ventures with Russian groups in commodities trading, oil and gas. So, and now we open our markets for Russian agriculture products. So, I think it's not that we're going to take advantage, but we are going to look for all opportunities, because we have also been given a very heavy dose of tariffs from, everybody knows, right, from the American market. So we are forced now to look for new markets, Africa, Latin America, Eurasia. We are just concluded. We are in the process of concluding a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Union. So European Union, of course. So it's a matter of, for us, it's a matter of diversity. But yes, we are confident. We have our strengths. We have our ability, and our relations also with China is very good and very strong. So it's not that we are optimistic, to say the least. Thank you.
And I will keep like 1 minute round for each participant. If there is anything I failed to ask or something that you have in mind to go. Hello to you, Mr. President.
I'd just like to thank President Putin and the organizers of this forum for this great opportunity. I think we've learned a lot from each other. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, President Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, Your Excellency Prince Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, National Security Advisor to the King of Bahrain, Your Excellency Paul Mashatile, Vice President of South Africa, Your Excellency Mr. Ding Xuexiang, Vice Premier of the People's Republic of China, distinguished ministers, business leaders, ladies and gentlemen, participants of this forum. I'm honored here today to be invited and to speak in this forum, the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum 2025. This forum is a forum that combines and gathers leaders from the West, the Global South, the East, and where Eurasia meet. Indonesia views the summit as an opportunity to forge strategic trust, an opportunity to make deals in an increasingly complicated geopolitical situation. Deals that can benefit our shared survival and our shared success. On this occasion, I would like to introduce myself. I am Prabowo Subianto, President of the Republic of Indonesia. I've just been inaugurated on 20th October 2024, and this is my first International Economic Forum, so I apologize if I'm a bit nervous. Indonesia is the fourth largest country by population. Every year, there are 5 million new Indonesians arriving in this world. Every year, 5 million. That means every year, a group of people the size of Singapore. So in 10 years, there will be 10 Singapores in Southeast Asia. The size. I give this as an illustration of the size of Indonesia. This gives us great opportunity, but also gives us great challenge. Any leader of Indonesia must think how to feed 5 million more mouths every year, 5 million new school places, etc., etc. The hospitals, and more important, and most important, is the food. In my opinion, the duty of a government is first to protect its people. And to protect its people means to protect its people from hunger and from poverty and from the suffering of a challenging environment. Therefore, when I took over the government of Indonesia, my main priority was first to achieve self-sufficiency in food. Number two, self-sufficiency in energy. Number three, to improve the education level of Indonesians to be able to compete in the challenging era of the 21st century. And fourth, to speed up the industrialization of Indonesia. Indonesia has been fortunate in being given by the Almighty Lord vast economic resources. Vast economic resources. But these vast economic resources, if not wisely managed, actually can be a curse to our people. We have vast forests, we have vast minerals, we have a lot of commodities that are useful for the world. But this has to be managed well. And therefore, in my opinion, every country needs its own economic policy and its own economic philosophy. One of the big mistakes of many countries in Southeast Asia is that we tend to always follow the biggest and the most powerful in the world. In the last 30 years, we see the dominance of the neoliberal capitalist classical free market philosophy, which basically tends to be laissez-faire. And the Indonesian elite followed this philosophy. And therefore, in my opinion, we have not managed to create a level playing field for all our people. There is vast growth. We have grown 5% continuously, especially the last 7 years. Yes, 35% in 7 years. But we have not managed to have this so-called trickle-down effect. The wealth remains at the top, less than 1%. And this is not a formula for success, in my opinion. Therefore, my position is this, that each country must follow its own economic philosophy. The economic philosophy that is in tune and that can be accepted by each country's culture and each country's background. Therefore, I have chosen the path of compromise, the path of the best of socialism and the best of capitalism. Pure socialism, we have seen, does not work. It's utopia. Pure socialism, we see many chances and many cases people do not want to work. Pure capitalism results in inequality, results in only a small percentage enjoying the fruits of the wealth. But our path is the path of the middle way. We want to use the creativity of capitalism, innovation, initiative. Yes, we need that. But we need government intervention to overcome poverty, overcome hunger, to intervene and to protect the weak. Because there's a danger in developing countries like Indonesia of what we consider the danger of state capture. The collusion between big capital business and government officials and political elite. In the end, the collusion between these two groups does not result in the alleviation of poverty and the widening of the middle class. Therefore, we have chosen the philosophy which, in essence and in simplicity, can be reduced to one sentence. The greatest good for the greatest many. That is our philosophy. Our government must work to bring the greatest good to the greatest many. And in this case, we have to have a clean government, free of corruption. And this, I think, is the key of rapid development. I am proud to stand here before you. In my 7 months of administration, we have achieved an increase in rice and corn production of around 50%. And this is the greatest increase production in the aggregate in the history of the Republic of Indonesia. And we have now in our government warehouses 4.4 million tons of rice, which is the largest reserve in the history of the Republic of Indonesia. In just a few months of my administration, we increased efficiency, we fight very strongly against corruption, we deregulate, we cut all the regulations which increase inefficiency, and we have seen the rapid results. I believe that if Indonesia can play a good role, a positive role in international relations. For instance, our participation in BRICS. We thank the government of Russia for supporting us to be a member of BRICS very fast. I think we are one of the fastest members to be accepted in BRICS. Also, Madam President, former President of Brazil and President of the New Development Bank, we are also accepted into the member of New Development Bank, also very fast. We thank also the government of China for supporting us and the government of South Africa. And we believe that together, BRICS can contribute significantly to stability, prosperity of the world. I would like just to tell us a slight story, not part of my speech, but I was asked why I did not attend the G7, but I attended the St. Petersburg Forum 2025. And it's not because I did not respect the G7. It's because I gave my commitment to attend this forum before they invited me. So that's the only reason. So please don't read too much into the event. Sometimes political observers, they want to read, is this a political statement? Right? No. Indonesia, by tradition, always non-aligned. We respect all countries. Our foreign policy is very simple. One phrase: 1,000 friends, too few. One enemy, too many. We want to be friends with everybody. Only with friendship, collaboration, can we achieve prosperity. So thank you very much, President Putin, for inviting me. And because you invited me, I can be here today in this historic city, a city of heroism, a city of great patriotism. And as an amateur student of history, I followed the history of Russia, and I know the significance of St. Petersburg. And I had the honor of attending the cemetery of the victims of the war a few days ago. So thank you very much for this invitation. For many times I have said in many forums that Indonesia has chosen the path of non-alignment. We consider that this world must develop into a multipolar world and is developing towards a multipolar world. The world of unipolar centrality is past. This is the trend of history. This is what's happening in front of us. And so I value very much the leadership of Russia and the leadership of also China. And I want to be very frank, in the present world, in the global south, I think many from the global south will agree with me. Russia and China has never had double standards. Russia and China has always defended the downtrodden, has always defended the oppressed, has always fought for the justice of all peoples of the world. So I say this from my heart. Therefore, Indonesia wants to be a good partner and a strong partner. My experts tell me that in this first semester, our economic growth is more than 5%. Actually, it can really end up by the end of this year nearly 7% or even more. So this shows that we have chosen the right path and we are achieving our goals. I'm very convinced that we will achieve our goals within a few years. I've given the target 4 years, self-sufficient in food, and we are experiencing that we can be self-sufficient in food within this 1 year. And we will be, in a few years, a net exporter of rice and corn. Also, now I've formed a sovereign wealth fund, which we call Danantara, which means the future energy of Indonesia. So this fund we make to protect the wealth of our children and grandchildren. The fund now has 1,000 billion US dollars of asset under management. And this year we have cash to invest of $18 billion. We want to work together with all strategic partners. We do not ask for assistance. We do not ask for handouts. We want to be a real partner. We want to achieve together real prosperity. We are open for business. We invite all groups from everywhere, especially Russian entities. Before I was elected, I was an entrepreneur, and I have good relations with Russian corporations. My brother has been active in this area for many, many years, I think more than 2 decades. So we know Russian corporations, and we would like to see Russia participate more in our economy. I've mentioned our foreign policy. We have always been, and we will continue to be non-aligned. We thank Russia for helping us and for achieving the Indonesian-Eurasian Union CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And we have completed also negotiations with other groups, Bloc CP, TPP, also with the European Union CEPA, and we also request to join OECD. For us, the world and the planet is getting smaller. We will work together with you for peaceful collaboration, peaceful coexistence with all countries. We view with sincere regret the escalation and increase of conflict around the world, especially in the Middle East, and we hope that all parties can come to a peaceful resolution as soon as possible. I think, distinguished guests, I've come to the end of my short speech. I apologize if what I say is not what is expected of me, but what I say comes from my heart. Thank you very much.